Hey, everyone. Welcome to Heathen Bible Study. Welcome home, heathens. This is going to be a weekly channel for us to unpack the Bible. And today we're going to be talking about Romans 12 and 2. And basically, Romans 12 and 2 is going to show you how to rewire your brain and shift timelines using your scripture. So we're going to unpack that today. Give me 1 second here. Romans 12 and 2. And we are going to be, where did I go? Okay. Here I am in the corner, y'all. So we're going to be talking about Romans 12 and 2, and we're going to talk about neuroplasticity and quantum science. And this channel is solely going to be a space where scripture, science, embodiment, nervous system regulation all intertwine for us to manifest the life that we dream of. What we are definitely entitled to have our heaven on earth, and this channel is going to unpack the Bible. I am an extremely big fan of the Bible. No, I am not a Christian. However, I do respect and really connect with the Bible and the scriptures, and we're going to take it and turn it quantum. So if it's something that you feel is aligns with you, stay tuned. I'm just a girl who loves science and the Bible, and hopefully we get some results together and we are able to make it a thing. So let's move on to the next page. Just making sure I'm covering everything. And again, my name is Shannon if you're new to my channel. And again, my channel is really, if you look at it, is built out nervous system regulation. And then again, we are intertwining the teachings of spiritual teachers like Neville Goddard, Florence Scovel, the Reverend Ike, and many more other teachers. And we're just bringing this to a place and time, the Bible together, because they also, in their working in teachers, also reference the Bible. All right, so let's go ahead and read Romans 12 and 2. I got my phone out here. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasure, and perfect. Now, we're going to be using the Concordance book to be able to break down a lot of these words in the Bible just so that we can have a full understanding and bring it together for us to actually immediately apply this information. So just stand by. We're going to head to the next slide here. And again, here is, I'm gonna move myself out the way, the verse. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. And this is from the King James version. My anxiety is kicking in, so I'm talking a little fast. But let's slow it down. Ooh, let's breathe. I feel the nervous system kicking in, but this is the rollout. So we're gonna break it down, conform, when using the concordance book, and you can also find the concordance book on Amazon. Getting the concordance and working with the Bible is something that I learned from one of my great teachers that I'm currently with, Minister Jew. He works with this book, and he is also great at breaking down the quantum and Bible. So if y'all get a chance, check out Minister Jew on the channel, because I want to give him his flowers, because this is where I connected with him and aligned with him because he was working from the Bible. So let's jump into it, guys. So conformed. Don't be molded by the matrix or the system, right? Like that's what it's basically saying. Don't get molded by the matrix or the system. So when we break down the word world, this programmed age, default timelines, and I'm going to be using a lot of terms that tie in with the quantum simulation theory. So bear with me. It's going to be a little woo woo, but trust me, I'm going to bring it all together for y'all. So conform. Don't be molded by the matrix, the world, default timeline. Transform, metamorphosis, total shift of being, a renewed renovation of the mind and nervous system, mind, consciousness, and the observer state. So, just looking at this and just kind of explaining those concordance definitions to a certain degree, right? Default timelines is something that if you haven't awakened and realized your power, you operate in those norms, those societal norms in default. And what we like to call it typically would be like the rat race. And it's so important for you to understand that when you're operating in default timelines, you're going to get default results. That means there's no accountability of you being the creator of your world. And we do know that in this quantum world metaphysics that we are in fact the creators of our worlds, of our experiences. So in this Bible study, we definitely going to be taking full accountability on our creations. And it's not here, we're not here to judge ourselves in or others. We're just here to tie in the Bible to be able to make sure that we're able to get ourselves on the right track. Because the renewal of the mind is not talking about going to get a new brain. It's a new level of consciousness from the observer state. How are you seeing your life? How do you observe your thinking? Like, where is your consciousness? Where is your awareness? And we all probably are students of Neville, right? And we talk about consciousness and awareness, and we're essentially saying, where is your focus? Is your focus more on what's going wrong? Is your focus on inflation? Is your focus on overflow in the stock markets? Where is your awareness? And it's important for you to actually identify where you're at in that process to be able to actually co-create in a way that's good for you. So let's go to the next page here. And we kind of talked about this, right, guys? The concordance breakdown: conformed, molded by the matrix; transform, total shift of form; mind, consciousness, observer behavior; world, program, system, age; renewed, renovation of mind and nervous system; improve, in this instance, will be embodiment as evidence. One second, I got my notes here, and I definitely want to make sure we're in alignment with the notes. So we're going to get into the neuroplasticity connections, and we're going to get into the science of it, right? Old patterns equals conformity. Again, I'm going to say that again. Old patterns equal conformity. What is that? Those behaviors that you were programmed and default of, where you were intentional about your actions, you weren't intentional about your thinking, and you damn sure were intentional about your creation of your reality. So old patterns is going to represent conformity here, right? Neuroplasticity is rewiring thought and emotion loops. What do I mean by that? You ever had observed yourself habitually thinking about a thing, like emotionally provoking yourself to be sad? Like you send yourself to this, things can be going great, and you will start remembering a time where a person betrayed you, and then next thing you know, you reliving that experience. And this is all happening internally. This is not, you could be sitting in a room amongst people, and these things are just running in the background, and you're creating turmoil in your bio I'm losing my words. Your biofield, we're gonna say biofield, right? And at the same time, it's just like it's almost happening in an unconscious way, so fast, so quick. So what we're trying to focus on here is having the neuroplasticity rewire in a way that's going to serve you to co-create a reality, that's something that you actually want to experience. Renewing in this scripture would be new neural connections formed by repetition and embodiment. What do I mean by that? This is what Florence comes in, because in Florence teachers teachings, she focused on affirmations very strongly. And the power of the affirmations is that if you do them enough, and a lot of young folk like to say, is it mechanical affirmations or something like that, where you're basically robotic affirmations they talk about, right? Where it's like they repeat it over and over till they actually start to believe it. So that's how you're going to be able to create those new neuron connections, by doing affirmations, doing the inner work. Like for me, I got this from Nero actually. And again, I explore a lot of creators. Like, we're in a world where everything is everything. Everybody know about all these teachings, but Neuro is someone I truly enjoy listening to as well, with his concepts. But he said something very interesting, and it was an affirmation that I say to myself when I'm feeling a little anxious in my finances, when I need to feel grounded. I have more money than I can spend. And I tell myself that throughout the day, especially when I do large purchases, because my nervous system is like, girl, we just want a bag. Let's sit down. Let's process this. And I have to tell myself, like, I have more money than I can spend. And that type of affirmation is more powerful than you think, because imagine if I was saying the opposite, and I was habitually telling myself that, I would get those outward expressions in reality. So renewing is going to be new neural connections formed by repetition and embodiment. Embodiment is pretty much being it now, in the now. Everything that you want to experience, let's just say, because I'm really big on identity shifting and self concept. Let's say the millionaire person, right? You're shifting to an identity of a millionaire. You're going to start embodying the feelings and emotions of that now. And that's where about embodiment ties into all of this, because it's going to help your nervous system be able to expand, to be able to contain that energetics of receiving more and more outside of what your body and neurons were originally used to receiving. All right. And some of the examples I wanted to tie in would be, your keep, like a loop, a neuron loop would be, you keep dating the same type of person. That's an old neural pathway. You're stuck in depth cycles. That's a conformity wiring. Renewing of the mind is building a new brain so that you start recycling the same life. And that's what we want to focus on here. So let me make sure I hit everything in this slide. So conformity, stuck neural pathways, that's the looping. Renewal, brain wiring. Sorry, guys. brain rewiring plus new neural circuits, transformation, new identity through repeated thoughts, emotions, and embodiment. And that, my friend, will be identity shifting. So we're going to unpack that too while we're doing the slides. So, all right, let's get into the observer effect. We have heard of this so much. And what you focus on collapses in real time in your reality. Now, granted, everything has a gestation period, but ultimately, what you habitually focus on is what you're going to create. So, everything right now that you see in your reality, you are responsible for. Now, you may not know how you, on a conscious level, how you created it, but ultimately, the truth is, you're responsible for it. And on this channel, we take pure accountability. It's not a matter of denying, it's a matter of how can we create new neural pathways so that we can evolve to the version that we prefer to be in. So we're talking about the observer effect, right? I think the observer effect is so important because I started noticing when I was having more outward expressions that I did not enjoy. One of the things I would do is call people. I was calling everybody, repeating the story over and over again. That was the observer effect, and it was magnifying the issue. And the same thing is when people go on social media. Imagine you going on social media, right? And thousands and millions of people are observing you at a certain state. Do you not think that that state is going to magnetize and grow? So I think that we need to be intentional about the observer effect and use it in a way in our lives to where it can work for us to take us to the next level. Conformity, stuck in default timelines. Being stuck in a default timeline is so interesting because some people don't even realize it, right? Some people feel like I have to do these things because group thinking requires me to do so because I want to feel accepted and be in community. So I continue to do the same things to stay connected with people that I have lifelong relationships with, that I have business with, that I do all of those things. So if you are stuck in a situation, a default timeline where you're dating the same type of person, you're only getting these type of jobs, you're only meeting these type of people, is based on the conformity of your energetic exchange with that in terms of how you're thinking. What do you think about people? What do you think about relationship? What do you think about friendship? Like, you're going to really have to do the inner work to be able to have that renewal of the mind to be able to create a different outcome. Moving forward to the renewal, choosing a new observer state. In your reality, you're going to have to create from an observer state that's most preferred for you. Do not see yourself in lack. Do not observe yourself in lack. Observe yourself in abundance and overflow. No matter what the 3D presents in front of you, the truth is, and Aaron Lyons, that's another amazing girlie. The truth is that wealth and abundance is infinite and there is no lack. And that is literally an illusion that this 3D matrix would tend to make us, feel. Transformation, nervous system regulation into a new frequency. I do the EFT tapping because that's one of the things that literally helps me calm down in terms of when I'm feeling overwhelmed. I either go outside and ground, I either get still, and when I say get still, I'm not doing shit for like 30 minutes. Only thing I'm doing is breathing. I'm not texting, not eating, I'm not drinking, I'm just being still. And then most importantly, cold shower plunges. When I'm really on on some craziness, right? Like when I'm in my dog mode, I'm taking cold showers every morning. And this is regulating my nervous system for the shock factor. If I can take a cold shower 6 a.m., as soon as I wake up in the morning, I'm ready for anything. I'm ready for whatever. You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much the loop of that. The observer effect, focus equals a reality collapse. Conformity equals observing what already is, and you stay stuck in a timeline because you're seeing things as they are presented in front of you. Transformation. Calm down. Oh, let me take a slip. Anxiety is pushing me to the front. Transformation equals shifting observer state, choosing a new potential. Renewal equals training nervous system plus focus to embody the new timeline. All right, let's get to our next slide here. And again, I just want to give my flowers because all of these teachings are a culmination of creators in this generation, creators from the old generation. And I always, originally, I would say The Secret was my first metaphysical book, right? Um, then I kind of like expanded my knowledge, Neville Goddard, Florence Scovel Shinn, and Reverend Ike. And I love all of them in their own way. But I would say Florence is my girl. Florence is so underrated. And I feel like Neville, he focused on the renewal aspect of this scripture, right? Where you're using the imagination. Florence is focusing on renewal in the way of affirmation, and Reverend Ike is focusing on the renewal of the self-image. Reverend Ike is really big on seeing yourself rich, wealthy, and in overflow. So if you guys ever want to think about it, think Neville, visualization, imagination, Florence, affirmation, Reverend Ike, self-concept, self-image. And we've all know they work enough to know that that's literally all of their teachings. And the way that all of these three work with the brain rewiring, and we talked about it, the affirmations on the repetition piece, the Neville Goddard imagination visualization, because before it can be projected on the outside, you have to give it to yourself first through the imagination. And then Reverend Ike, you have to have a high esteem of yourself. You have to see yourself and know that you deserve the best. So I hope that this makes sense when you're talking about renewing the mind and leaving the old mind and tying this into Romans 12:2. So let's do a quick embodiment practice, guys. I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to imagine a neural pathway in your mind. And I want you to say, I am transformed by the renewing of my mind. And you're going to visualize old neural pathways breaking, collapsing, turning off. And then you're going to see a new timeline forming where it's all lit up. So let's go through this together. Deep breath in, deep breath out. You're seeing the electric circuit board in your brain. You're hearing a doof. And all the lights are going out on that old pathway. Let this pathway be a representation of old money loops, or relationship loops, old negative self-concept loops. Shut it down. Now see on the motherboard new lights light up. This is going to represent the new self-concept, the new image of yourself. You're going to see this light up so bright. It's going to light up the whole motherboard like it's just a new neural pathway. I have transformed the renewal of my mind. I created new neural pathways to bring me on my highest timeline. All right, guys, go ahead, inhale, exhale. We're going to move to the next slide here. And we're going to talk about those old timelines, right? Default timelines where you're having the same job, same relationship, same money problems, right? You're living in a loop. And in order to break this loop, you have to really sit down. And you can use ChatGPT for this because I've done it. You're going to say, generate subconscious questions about these areas of my life and find ways to disguise the question in a way that I wouldn't be able to manipulate the answer with my conscious mind. And you can do maybe 10 to 20 questions for each category, answer them, and submit the responses to ChatGPT and do a thorough breakdown. And there's a lot of people that's not a fan of ChatGPT, but if you're looking for the hindsights and the hindrance or the blocks that you can't see for yourself if you don't have a mentor or a coach, I would say leverage it to help you understand yourself better. Because if you can't identify the thought loops or the triggering thoughts or awareness or observer of awareness that you have for where you're at, then there's a reason that it's there. It's not just there just because like you're unintentionally on default timelines and you need to figure out where to break it. And then you need to replace those old ideas with new ideas that serve you in a way that's going to take you on your highest timeline. So we definitely need to focus on that. Now, how do you do that, right? You're going to, again, spot where your confirming patterns are. Where in my life am I conforming? Where on my in my life I'm on a default timeline that I'm constantly looping that is extremely unpleasant for me and brings me out of alignment. You're going to find a new state. Observe yourself in a new neural pathway that will bring you on your highest timeline. And you're going to use imagination and affirmation and self-concept to be able to make that neural pathway stronger and stronger every day. This is not a one-day thing. You don't brush your teeth one time a year. You don't bathe once a year. You have to do this daily, a couple times a day, and you have to find a system that's going to work for you. Like everybody's system and process is totally different, but in order for you to create those new neural pathways, you're going to have to sit down with yourself to see what that would look like, even if it's creating new habits that you only do for 1 or 2 minutes. Like at least start building out the habits to do so. All right, let's go to the next slide here. We already kind of covered that old neural path that we used to have with the negative thinking. We did a visualization on that, so we covered this slide. And this is going to tell you how to. We just talked about it. Stop where you're conforming at, pick a new state, renew daily, and embody this until your reality starts to prove it. Conclusion: Romans 12 and 2 is not about religion. It's about neuroplasticity and quantum reality. It's about changing the old neural pathways into neural pathways that you have deliberate co creation with an intentionality to create the life that you live, that you want to live. And guys, we deserve the best. I don't care about good or bad, ugly or indifferent. We deserve what we want, our heart's desires, and we can have it right here and right now. So I want you guys to leave in the comments, where are you conforming and what timeline are you going to replace with that? And Romans 12 and 2, I want you to take this into your week, and everything that comes up, ask yourself, is this a part of the renewing of my mind? Am I going back to my old loop, or am I creating a new loop? And in this new loop, is it to my highest good? Can I make it better? So don't think that you're going to go into this week and not have any ebbs and flows of the 3D reality and not have to ask yourself these questions, because things are going to come up. And the way that we're going to know you're working on strengthening the neural pathway will be the response to whatever comes up. Bashar likes to call them echoes. That's a concept as well. So when you experience echoes throughout your week, ask yourself, is this a part of the new neural pathway that I'm creating of the renewing of my mind? If you're reverting back to your old self, pause, acknowledge it, give yourself grace, take a step back if you can. If you have knee jerk reactions to an experience, because we're all a work in progress and this is something new that you're taking intention to change in your life, whatever the action is, forgive yourself, figure out how you can do better moving forward, and bring it to your awareness that you're responding different. And that's what's important, right? So I hope that this was something, guys, that resonated with you. This is the Heathen Bible Study, and we are where we stop living default timelines and start decoding the world for manifestation. We're going to be intentional about our creations. We're going to create a heaven on earth that's, what did Jesus say? You would do things greater than I. And the heathen, I call it the Heathen Bible Study because of the concepts being so far out of religion, but it's still with respect. And again, I feel like I'm just one of those unicorns that love the Bible. I love quantum. I love self concept. Like, I love all of these things, and I just want to have a safe space to bring these ideas and concepts all together. This was my first video, so I don't went through a gang of emotions doing this video, but I made the effort to put this out because this was a download for me to do. So I'm following through on that because that's what I was told to do. So here we are, and I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys come back next week and catch the next episode. So closing out, take it further. Daily practice, use the mantra and visualization each morning to rewire your neural pathways. Identify your matrix. What systems are you conforming to without realizing it? Choose your timeline. What reality are you ready to observe into existence? Your mind is the quantum field where manifestation begins. It all begins in the inner world, guys, and then it's going to project to the outer world. And no matter how you try to deny the things that's created upon you, good, bad, ugly, and indifferent, it's your creation. So are you going to remain on the default timeline and keep looping? Or are you going to take your power back and start co-creating worlds that's amazing? So again, guys, my name is Shannon. I hope you guys come back next Wednesday. I will be dropping these videos 7 p.m. Just kind of want to give you guys something throughout the week. I may double up and start going to 2 videos a week. It's just depending on where I'm at, if it brings me in flow, and just really tying these concepts together so that we can still love the Bible, but still also be accountable for our creation. So see y'all next time.